Hello people, and today I'm going to be doing a discussion. This doesn't necessarily apply to legacy iOS, but it does also apply to legacy iOS. Of course that is 2G, 3G, whatever shutdowns are bad. Now, of course, shutting down these things might sound maybe not horrible at first, but I'm going to tell you there's a really massive problem with it. A really big problem that people just need to stop ignoring. It's a serious issue, and I don't think people just really think of this, and it's really not good. It's a very good reason why these shutdowns are bad. So, for iPhones, all the iPhones up until the 4S are 3G, only 3G and 2G, with the 2G only having 2G. Now, of course, the iPhone 2G really should have had 3G, let's be real. But 2G is not going to be much of a difference, because in 2023, this year, EE and Vodafone are shutting down their 3G, so it does not affect iPhone 2G users at all. However, for iPhone 4S users, they're going to be affected. Their 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 cellular is just going to be significantly worse in performance. And yes, it's technically usable, but do you really want to use 2G on a 4S? No, you want 3G. But you've also got the problem of, well, three of the major networks in the UK. Of course, I'm saying this in the UK. I can't really comment on anything else, unfortunately. I'll admit that, unlike Americans, well, I certainly agree with Americans. That was a bit too vague. But yeah, so 2024 is going to be the year that 3G gets shut down for free, and that will be the final one, potentially. I believe it's O2 now, haven't actually technically announced a date. So 3 doesn't do 2G at all, so you won't be able to use any device below the iPhone 5. And even then, the iPhone 5 apparently doesn't do 4G calls, and so doesn't the 5S, but the 6 does. Apparently it's a software thing, not a hardware thing, to make things worse. Apparently. Problems are already stacking up, so you wouldn't be able to make calls on their 5 or 5S. Already, that's bad, but don't worry, it gets worse. So, as I said, you'll be stuck with 2G. 2G in the UK won't be here forever. There's already a date announced. It's not a date where it's like, oh yeah, that's when it's shutting down. It's a date where it's shutting down by. You might think, oh, but like what networks? The answer is all 4 of them. All 4, more like all 4. Or it could be, Channel 4. No, it's not Channel 4. So, your iPhone 2G won't be usable as a cellular device in 2033. Okay, but you might be like, oh, but it could be used as an iPod. You're right, it could be pretty much an iPod Touch first gen with Bluetooth and probably some other stuff. However, do you know what also has 2G? Flip phones. Old flip phones from the 90s and the 2000s. What functionality are they going to have when 2G shuts down? Snake? Yeah, maybe. Maybe browsing the web if it's more of a later model. Yeah. What about the whole point of the existence? A phone. A phone. It's not an iPod. It's not an iPad for the iOS side. It's an iPhone. Phone. Phone. How hard is it to understand? So you've got all of this nonsense. 4G. Yeah, and then, eventually they're going to be like, getting rid of 4G and then 5G. But the thing is, of course, they're using the excuse of, to make way to improve our 5G networks. Do you really want to know something? 4G coverage still isn't enough. You still get constantly, for free especially, apparently I've got the worst coverage, and I'd say, yeah, that's pretty right. I've looked on coverage maps from, I think it's Ofcom, and apparently not all areas from other networks near me with relatively high amounts of population have service. 4G! That was over 10 years ago now. And you were saying, that's going to be the worst thing. And then, have you ever thought, 4G's really slow? I don't think people said that. I don't remember asking for 4G being faster. I don't want faster networking, really. It does the job. The only reason it's really slow is because the coverage is just not great. The coverage is different from speeds. So if you're in like really weak areas with like 1 or 2 bars, it means you're just going to have a horrible experience. That's why they're doing these things. And you might be like, another thing you've got to remember is, quite simply, 2G, 3G, 4G and 5G have been running all together for, 3 years at this point. What's stopping you from just keeping that? You might be like, cost living. It's just like, what? So, don't forget, as I said, what I said earlier, you've got a bunch of flip phones. I probably should have said this. How much e-waste is going to be happened just because of these 2G shutdowns? Yes, you've still got another 10 years, but that's at maximum in the UK. As far as I can tell, well, I say as far as I can tell, there are probably countries that are still keeping their stuff. It's just, the UK is probably like one of the latest, like most far in the future for 2G shutdowns, and that's still only 10 years away. Yeah, there are probably places where there's still going to be 2G for a while, but like, it's kind of unfortunate that the UK's kind of the most recent, the most latest one. You will have 2G shut. That's confirmed, yeah. But don't forget, at the end of the day, this is going to create a huge amount of e-waste. There's already a massive problem with e-waste with these portable devices like this. Even though, of course I like this device. What if, like, the land breaks? What happens then? Gets thrown in a bin. Well, I say that, it could, be useful parts, but, like, realistically, why is my laptop over there still being used? Well, actually, it's technically down there. It would have been useless if he was like this 3 years ago almost, because the hard drive in it died. It's a Seagate, it's terrible quality. Shouldn't really use Seagate in the first place, but that's kind of a different point. No, it was prevented from being erased because it has replaceable storage. I mean, yes, you have to unscrew it and stuff. It's really not that hard though. Of course, mobile devices, it's a bit more tricky. But don't forget, Android phones have had this feature for a very long time. I know it's not quite the same thing as the built-in storage, but SD cards, SD cards, they've been a thing forever. Well, like the 2000s, maybe late 90s. But like, you get the point. You've got these, and yet you're still putting storage that you can't touch. I mean, yes, you can. I've seen people upgrade storage for these, but it requires soldering skills. I don't have that, and it's going to be quite small and fiddly, and it's just not good enough. E-waste is an actual problem, and yet we're all just ignoring it. We think, oh, we just let them shut down our 2Gs, have 3Gs. They're going to shut down our 4Gs in probably only 10 years, How is it? How much e-waste do you think this is going to create? And how many people just don't need 3G or 4G? They might just make calls. I think that's going to be quite a few, especially with people who aren't as technical, older people, But how hard is it to understand this? How hard? Next point is, you've got all this e-waste. Of course, the next thing is you're going to need upgradable RAM, let's say. Not a thing with these mobile devices. Laptops, they've done it forever, and they're starting to get rid of it. Apple got rid of it 10 years ago, I believe. Or was it 2015? Either way, it was quite a while ago. It was before that stuff started to become common. I've got all my laptops, at the very least, have a slot where you can upgrade them. With 2 of them just being, okay, that's a lie, I do have one without upgradable RAM. Shouldn't happen. It's not a ultra thin laptop, it's about that thick. I have a laptop with similar thickness, and it has upgradable RAM. It's not like a Celeron, it's a Pentium, so it's not like bottom of the rubbish, but even then you should still have upgradable RAM. But at the very least it has upgradable storage, so you've got that. We need to stop thinking about the present and think of the future. We need upgradable stuff. I mean, you had that Google phone, I think it was Google, modular phone. That was cool, if the camera dies, you just swap it out easily. It's like a little thing like that size. That's a genius thing. You could have, replaceable batteries, all of this. And also, the worst thing is, recent years, they've started to get rid of, removable batteries. As in you just pop off the back, no screws, it's just easy, and pop it in. No, they've got rid of that, pretty much. Not even on, low-end phones, that's the thing anymore. They're getting rid of SD cards as well. And, what in the world? What world is that? Just perfectly fine. We still buy them from it. So, I mean, yes, Apple should have always done these. They literally pioneered. They made these devices popular. And yet they failed to make them future-proof, really. I mean, yes, I can use these. Yes. But, you can't upgrade them, really. you could upgrade the storage technically if you really tried, you really wanted to. But I believe that I've only seen that happen with an iPhone 7. I believe people were looking to do it with older devices. I don't know. But it's just stupid. And then, of course, you've got non-replaceable like CPUs. And then also you've got the future of, ARM. ARM is a massive scam, really. I'm saying that. In theory, it sounds all cool, lower power consumption, with that. But the thing is, have you ever seen an ARM computer that's got replaceable storage at the very least? I believe the Mac Mini, M1 Mac Mini does, technically. I guess Raspberry Pi, single board computers, technically. So maybe replaceable storage is the very minimum you can get. But what about RAM? What about a CPU you put in a motherboard, it just like slots in like a normal desktop computer? Have you even seen a desktop computer with ARM that isn't a Mac? No, they don't want. They've just not even thought about this. And then also you got like GPUs. Nope, that's not happening. Desktops are not gonna have ARM if they're going to not allow any options really for upgrading. It's not happening. Be realistic. It's just not gonna happen. It's not hard to understand. People act like ARM's the big new thing. It's the future. It's not the future if it's just gonna be a downgrade. The amount of times I've seen people think removing stuff is an upgrade. It's not. You've got Apple. They removed the headphone jack. There's people like, oh, but now you get 2 speakers on your iPhone. Do you want to know something? All the way up to the iPhone 4S, the headphone jack was on top of the device. They could have put 2 speakers here, like an iPad. They didn't. They just wanted to sell these new things that they conveniently started to make at this time, called AirPods. That's also problematic as well. No one's looking to the future. These like Apples, be thankful I don't give Apple any money anymore. Haven't done for a year at the very least. And actual Apple products, pretty much never. I've only bought these used. So going back onto the topic of these 2G, 3G shutdowns, it's going to create a lot of e-waste. I mean, these mobile devices are already really kind of problematic with some people. Of course, I've got the mindset that I need to make any iOS device usable, really. Not everyone has, don't forget that. And the truth is, we should be making stuff that's easy to upgrade. That modular phone, I'm pretty sure it was Google, that really should have happened. That was the future. And we've just thrown it away. We don't care. We're removing the headphone jack. We're removing the upgradable, replaceable storage, whatever you want to call it. The SD cards. We're even going to remove your headphone jack so you can't. We're making it harder to use your headphones with your iOS devices. We're going to make it harder to plug it into your car. We're going to make it harder to plug it into your cool audio system, so on and so on. What is the point of all of this? It's just making e-waste. Everything's going to be e-waste if we aren't too careful, you know? All these things. This phone's probably e-waste to 500 billion people now. It's only an iPhone 6s on iOS 11.4.6. I used an iPhone 2G as my main phone for a week, mate. And I won't be able to do that in 10 years. It's just sad. This world's sad. Of course, I could move to other countries, potentially. But you never know. You can't really predict the future. However, it's not an excuse for making the stuff not upgradable. I guess that's like long rant that sort of started about the 2G and 3G shutdowns and just become a big rant about these. I don't even really know if this is really related to the month, but I mean, well, technically it is, but yeah. All of this e-waste, no one thinks about it, and that's what creates e-waste. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.